Salutations, my fellow dudes and dudettes, and welcome back to The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. Last time we collected a whole bunch of secret seashells, did some chamber dungeons, and acquired our key to the next dungeon. However, we're actually not going to the next dungeon in this part, or collecting a whole bunch of other stuff. But no, actually instead, we're going to be tackling the bonus dungeon that you could play in the back in the original Zelda, back in the original Link's Awakening. Well, more accurately, the DX version. I'll get into why that is a little bit later once we actually get to the dungeon, but first, we need to figure out how to get there. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to head to Mabe Village and go all the way to the left side and to the library. Because if you might not have noticed before, there is actually a book on the top shelf that we can't get to. So we're going to knock it down with the Pegasus boots, and then The Hidden Power of Color. Do you want to read this book? I don't see why not. There's a new world of color under the 5 gravestones. 3 up, 4 right, 5 up, 2 left, 1 down. Interesting. You're gonna want to memorize this, or you could just watch the play, or you could just continue watching this playthrough. That's assuming you're like not using this as a guide. You're only just watching it for my commentary or whatever. I don't blame. I won't judge for either one, but just keep those. Keep that little combination in mind as we go to the graveyard. Because there are actually exactly 5 gravestones that we need to interact with. And it's not easy, and it's not hard to miss either, because once we get into the graveyard, you're gonna notice something a little interesting. So we're gonna warp to Dompe's shack, as it means a shortcut. And then we're gonna head southward from there, and this should lead us to Bantha, Ataba Wasteland, and then the graveyard. I actually believe I don't have the graveyard on the map yet, so... And now we do. Alright, there should be 5 gravestones over here. These are all called gibbies, I think. They're essentially the boos of this game. They're sort of passive-aggressive. They will attack you occasionally, but they don't immediately make a beeline for you when they come out. I recommend you get rid of them so they're not an annoyance as you're pushing these gravestones in the intended order. If you push it in the wrong order, you won't be able to get these stairs to appear. But anyway, let's go down. Color Dungeon. This is the Color Dungeon, and we're the color guards. You'll need some magic powder to get anywhere in here. Say the word and I'll sell you some. They're not kidding. If you're low on magic powder, which you are going to need for this dungeon, then it's recommended that you purchase it. Especially if you've been following this guy, you should have more than enough rupees. Okay, so this color dungeon. There's a lot of puzzles revolving around colors. For when we got these tiles, you bounce on them, and they change color. After they turn red, when they turn red, they're also going to look cracked. So if you jump on them one more time, they will break. With these guys, you want to smack them and throw them into corresponding holes. Now, to talk about the color dungeon itself. So, in the original Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, you were able to access this dungeon. However, you were not able to complete it whatsoever. Because since you're playing on the original Game Boy, there's no color. And a lot of the puzzles require that you see color. Essentially, if you're you're if you're playing the Game Boy Advance version or you're just straight up colorblind, no offense to those who are, you can't do this dungeon. In this remake, they actually made it a bit more friendly because that puzzle we just did. Originally, it asked you to make them all blue, and if you couldn't see the colors, then you would never, or practically never, be able to do it. But before we get back into that, we got a boss fight. We got a giant choo-choo. The only way to hurt it is to use magic powder on it to turn it into this blue variant. Sometimes when it walks around, it shoots a bunch of electricity in four directions. Not too bad. It moves fast for a chew jelly, though. I'll give them that. But anyways, like originally, that puzzle will require you to turn all of the four mechanisms blue. In this one, they require you to change them into squares, because not only do they have different colors, they also have different shapes. It's like, do this if you dare, make every tile square, or something like that. So I guess they made it more friendly to those who are colorblind. So if you are, rejoice. They made this dungeon actually possible for you. These enemies aren't too exciting. They just come out of the floor. They just sort of try to attack you. They don't do much though. These guys are a little annoying. They constantly jump around. Whether they're on the tile floors or not, they're just constantly sort of hopping. And it can be at least a little bit annoying trying to actually hit them. Try if you dare, make them all square. And there we go. Okay, we got ourselves a compass. Now, there is no dungeon item unlike the other ones. There's just one primary reward at the end of this. Also, there's more than one mini-boss. I don't know the name of this thing. I sort of wasn't paying attention when I was going through, when I was consulting the notes that I had. But what this guy is essentially going to do, he's going to body slam and drop a whole bunch of rocks. Primarily whenever you smack him, and then he'll also like charge forward at you. Sometimes, as long as you just keep hitting him and avoiding the rocks, you should be fine. He doesn't take that much punishment, but you want to be really careful because not only does he drop rocks whenever he slams the ground, you also get stunned. So, keep that in mind. Okay, that was random. Ah, dang it. Alright, hang on through here. Yeah, there's not much to this dungeon again. Like, the main idea behind it was all the colors related puzzles. Thankfully, when they re-released Link's Awakening. Yeah, thankfully when they re-released Link's Awakening on the Game Boy and the DX version, that this dungeon was possible. In fact, I also believe that those entrance guards ask you what color they are or something to that extent, to verify that you are playing, that you can see the colors. Don't quote me on that though. I've played the DX version like once or twice in the past. I've never done the color dungeon in that game though. So this is actually the first time I'm doing this. Alright, now that puzzle can actually take you a large amount of time, so you want to be careful with that. Gonna flick this switch, and then we should be able to go into the boss fight, and we're done. I believe this is called the guard slime. Hard hit beetle. I don't know why I was thinking that. This guy is actually pretty simple. You smack him, he changes colors, and he's constantly shooting projectiles at you. If you leave him idle for too long, his HP will start to recover. And once you get his health low, he'll start to drop down a bunch of style foes. It's not too bad though. Just keep jumping and wailing. Just keep jumping and slashing him, and the boss fight should die pretty quickly. Yeah, this is a very nothing boss fight. I mean, which you could really honestly say for all the bosses in this game. Okay, so your reward for beating this. She will give you the power of color. You have the choice between a red tunic, and a blue tunic. If you have a red tunic, your attack power will be increased. Kind of like if you had the piece of power. If you choose the blue one, like I'm doing, you will increase your defense. I'm just ensuring that I don't die, because there is something you get for beating the game without dying once. You'll see that later. I recommend this one if it's your first time playing the game and you're using this as a guide. Because for what it's worth, the enemies in the later parts of the game can hit pretty hard. But if you're confident that you can manage through this game just fine, then go for the red one. More power is pretty fantastic. But there's another reason why I didn't choose the red color. But we're gonna find that out. We're gonna find out why in due time. But anyways, with that said, next time on The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, we are going to head towards the next dungeon. We're not going to be tackling it necessarily. We're going to be collecting all the things around it, as well as advancing our little trading sequence as well. So until then, I got a juice.